Political analyst Basil Smikle and advisor to former House Speaker John Boehner, Maura Gillespie. Good to see you both. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday. Maura, let's start with you today. President Trump's ending the year touting the better than expected GDP numbers we got recently. But if you do a little digging into this report, it shows the economy is still being largely supported by spending from the top 10% of households. This, as a new Conference Board Consumer Confidence Index report shows a fifth straight month of declining optimism in our country here in December. So if you combine those numbers with healthcare premium hikes, how bad of a hand is Trump starting 2026 with?
Well, it depends on who you ask, right? I mean, Donald Trump thinks he's doing really well because his friends are doing really well. You're talking about the top earners in this country who are spending a lot on shopping and buying goods still. The numbers for this holiday season were up because people are spending more money, but it's the top earners who are spending more. And unfortunately, coupling that with what's going on at the White House and the president's obsession, essentially, with marble and gold and things that are very out of touch with the voters who put him there in the first place. So I think for Republicans, they need to separate themselves from that messaging because people are watching their energy costs go up. They're watching their healthcare premiums go up, and they need to address the real issues that impact their constituents, not the president.
And so, Basil, the president spent Christmas at Mar-a-Lago with a number of his donors, while the cost of living, as Maura mentioned, for everyday Americans is mostly an uphill battle right now. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracked 170 items and services, everything from beef and coffee to bananas and car repairs. And this is what it found. It found 70% of those went up in price this year, all outpaced inflation. So how should Democrats keep applying pressure right now? Is it enough to just let Trump try to gaslight his way out of this hole he's dug?
Well, no, I certainly don't think it's enough to keep allowing him to gaslight. I do think Democrats need to continue to put on the pressure and talk about affordability. And that was, some positive thing that came out of the shutdown, right? And there were a lot of questions about what is the messaging and what is the off-ramp? Well, one of the big ways that they actually ended the shutdown was to continue to hammer away on the issue of healthcare affordability. So I think that's stuck. And when you look at the president's numbers, particularly among independents, you see the numbers go down, his favorability go down because they don't trust him on the economy. And just one thing really quickly, you mentioned in your conversation with the Congress member, you showed a tweet from the president about tariffs. The bourbon maker, Jim Beam, closed its main distillery in part because of changing demand for alcohol, but they also noted tariffs was a big part in why they need to shut down that facility. So even though big businesses may, for a period of time, be able to absorb some of those tariffs, and I go to Maura's point, which is that a lot of high-income earners, a lot of very wealthy, are driving a lot of the spending in this economy. But there are a lot of folks who, particularly small business owners, who have had to make some really drastic changes. And that means they can't be aspirational about their economic futures. And that's really driving a lot of the discontent right now.
So, Maura, what do you think about that? If things get even bleaker for Americans, do you think Trump changes his approach for next year, or would that mean admitting he got it wrong the first time?
Well, and I think that's where Republicans in Congress and who are running for office in the midterms really need to think about where they stand and how close they want to associate themselves with the president. I don't see Donald Trump's ego wanting to admit any type of responsibility or defeat or in any sense that he was ever wrong on anything ever. So I don't know that we're going to be holding our breath for that, but I think that there is an opportunity. The closer we get to the midterms, the opportunity is right for Republicans who want to separate themselves and actually focus on the issues that impact their constituents, because Donald Trump's not running for office again. So his concerns are more about his own legacy and his name on things and what it looks like for him, not necessarily for the people who put him there in the first place. And I worry for Republicans who don't see that separation that needs to happen, because they're the ones who are going to fall flat when it comes to the next election and the ones beyond that.
Let's switch topics a little bit. Trump's embarked on a year-end interview tour with various media outlets, Maura, trying to strengthen his messaging on key issues for him, like the upcoming talks with Ukrainian President Zelensky, the economy, and his foreign policies. Is this a sign his first year back in office didn't really go quite as imagined?
I think that's pretty clear, unfortunately, for Republicans, because they don't have that to run on. The successes and the wins, I think about, in Congress, the legislative victories they can tout are few and far between, unfortunately. And I do think that the president's focus on retribution, but also really trying to show his foreign policy chops as opposed to addressing the issues that he ran on here at home is going to be a challenge for Republicans down ballot to address that and to justify why they should be, in charge and still holding the majority come 2026. And so I do think that's going to be a struggle for Republicans.